climate change is a huge, what I would call, existential problem for the Caribbean region. You know, and so because it is such a huge problem for the Caribbean region, we need to do the research to enable the Caribbean region to survive. And you can expand that out quite a bit. You know, why do I say it's such a huge problem? Well, the truth is, everything in Caribbean life almost has an outdoor existence, and so climate becomes so much a part of our life. But it also drives a big part of our economies. You know, this is agriculture, this is tourism. So, you know, when you have any kind of storm event, it disrupts life totally. So climate is such a strong link to our ability as a region to develop and achieve the goals that we want as a region. And so it has to be studied. And it has to be studied by us who know the context of what it is doing to us, you know. And so that is a huge driving factor. We need to know how climate change is impacting our agriculture, or our industry, or our ecosystem, or the fisherman down the street, or our energy bill, you know. These are all the ways. So because climate has such a big role and can derail our whole future as a country, as a region, it has to be studied. So that's one of the real principal driving factors for doing the kind of research. There is also the other part that you talk about, that because the Caribbean has been understudied, there are some real interesting, intriguing, fundamental science that emerges from the research. And sometimes you look and say, wow, you know, we are so understudied that nobody noticed this before. So when you look at the history of storms, let's just take the Caribbean region, for example. There has been an uptick in recent years in the number of intense, you know, and when I talk about intense, category 4 and category 5 storms. If we just reach back 2017, you know, those were the 3 category 5s, Irma, Maria, Jose, you know, sweep through the region. By the time we hit 2019, we exhausted the alphabet, you know, in names. 2020, I think, was Dorian, you know, which was a huge superstorm which just sat over the northern Caribbean region. And you begin to see it, you know, we reach now, we are at Ian and that kind of thing. So there is an uptick for sure in intense storms. How much of that is directly climate change related? That's part of the science, how you attribute, you know, that. We know climate change is definitely impacting the intensity. We think it's also impacting things like the track that storms move, the speed at which they move. You know, those are clear things that climate change impacts. Right. To speak to Jamaica for it now, you know, yes, when you look in our history, we have had a direct impact of say 6, but we have been influenced by several. And so there's an interesting table that the Planning Institute of Jamaica puts out, and I'll share it with you, right? Where if you track from 2000 to the present, every year or every other year, a percentage of our GDP is lost due to a storm impact.